Kathy Donnelly,
Present.
Dean Furr, Kenneth Gillespie,
Here.
David Kenton,
Here.
Donna Korn,
Here.
Dawn Liberta,
Present.
Tom Powers, Robert Runcie, Maria Schneider, Paula Thatchy,
Present.
Jeffrey Wood.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So we're going to take a moment to arrive. If we could just have a few moments, please. Thank you. I think I needed that more than anything. I'm sure everybody out there does as well. We need to do approval of the February 2021 council minutes. Has everybody had the opportunity to review?
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion?
So moved.
Paula, thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Angie, any public comments? Perfect.
No public comment.
Thank you, Angie. We're going to move on to the president's report. Cindy?
Thank you. In this strange environment that we're still in, I just want to remind everybody, when in the room, when you speak, you need to turn your mic on and go close to the mic. And when you're not speaking, if you could turn it off, which is the same protocol we would normally use if everybody was here. Looking forward to the time when we're not spaced out like this. Okay, good of the order. We have some wonderful things that are going on. The Broward Aware campaign, which you know we run every year with many, many partners, that goes through January through Child Abuse Prevention Month in April, is in full swing. On February 25th, there was an event led by Women in Distress in observance of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. As you can see, the pictures on the screen. And in partnership with the CSC, Nancy J. Cotterman Center, Broward County Parks, Feeding South Florida, Guardian Ad Litem, YMCA, and OIC of South Florida. It's a reminder that in every event that we do, we always make sure that food is part of whatever happens. Community-Based Connections is leading a Fatherhood Matters to Me video campaign through the end of March, featuring 10 fathers from all walks of life sharing their experiences on the importance of fatherhood. On April 3rd, at Franklin Park, there'll be the Family Fun and Resource Fair in partnership with Mobile School Pantry, and will feature an Easter-themed event and food distribution to 200 plus families. So we will not let anything stand in the way of making sure that people know about all of these ways to prevent child abuse. Pinwheels have been ordered from Prevent Child Abuse, a campaign partner, and will be distributed at all of these events. Denim Day, a day to raise awareness on and aims to prevent sexual assault, will be observed on April 20th. We will observe the event with photo collages and by asking participant youth programs that are running in-person programs to submit photos of students participating, and municipalities in Broward are being asked to paint their town blue throughout April to show their support for the campaign by glowing blue lights on their city halls. Some have already responded enthusiastically. That's a new addition this year. If any of you have connections at your city hall, encourage them to participate. We did Nothing Keeps Us Down. We did 2 Future First episodes, one with Donna, thank you, Donna, and Nadia Clark on the importance of attendance and how to respond and support your students throughout COVID, and drowning prevention. Sadly, while we had been making great strides in preventing drowning over the last nearly 20 years. During COVID, and I'm sure you saw the issue paper we'll be discussing later on the new PSA, people being home, children thinking you're supervising them, but then being able to get outside. We've had a few tragedies. And so we, in addition to the new PSAs, we also did a show to promote the barriers, the multiple barriers. And finally, I know we've talked about the Broward County Racial Equity Task Force. So I don't think you'll be surprised. CSC has a representative, and I asked Sue to be that representative. So I think she will add great value to that committee, that task force. Any questions on any of that? That concludes my goo for today.
Really quick, Cindy, I just want to add that, so everyone is aware that the Water Safety Symposium is coming up in April, and it should be going out to the community. It already has. If it hasn't, I'll resend it out to everybody. It's really a great event. I've attended every year, and I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Dawn. And the Florida Children's Council, Kathy knows, every year we have normally it's a fly-in where all of the CSC executive directors or CEOs and their chair go to Tallahassee. We meet normally with legislators and with the secretaries who tell us of their priorities, and we share what we have to offer and offer ourselves as resources. This year, obviously, fly-ins were not happening, but we did a Zoom in, and Dawn participated throughout the whole thing. Thank you, Dawn. Because there had just been a whole shuffling of all of the secretaries, it was not possible to meet with them. They weren't even sitting in their seats yet, I think, or were just there. So we met with legislators for 2 days, and they were very good meetings. It was really, I was very heartened, and I think Dawn will say the same. There were several freshman Republicans that we met with, or sophomore Republicans, especially in the House, who were very child-focused. Early learning is a top priority, as we know, with Rep. Bansalupis, who started with Dave Lawrence, the children's movement. And so he's doing some great work there, along with Representative Grawl. And that legislation is moving for some accountability and supports for early learning, which is very exciting. And actually, that legislation is moving, and I feel hopeful about early learning for the first time in years. The additional money that's coming in from the federal government to allow for a lot more subsidies is extraordinary. I've never seen the wait list now is only 3 months old. They're taking kids off the wait list from November of 2020. And so that's really current. It means more should be eligible. Of course, as those of us who've been doing this a long time know, every time the wait list starts to move, more children come on. That's why it's never effective to say how many children are there on the wait list. That creates the universe. It clearly doesn't. People get discouraged, they don't go on, and then as soon as people start to be taken off the wait list, more come on. So even though a few months ago we were at 1,200 children on the waiting list, and we are taking 200 to 400 a week off, the wait list is up to 2,000. So both, it's to be expected, but there's money coming down so that even as they come in, at least for a good while, we should be able to place children. And for those who are watching, who may have young children, the work or school requirement for eligibility on the part of the parent is still waived at this time. So it's really just your financial position that is critical. So that's exciting. And some of the work that our local ELC is doing to promote quality to support the childcare centers is very exciting right now. So I'm hopeful there, which is, you know, a critical foundational thing for our children. I drifted into the next item, but it's hard when you're talking about meeting with legislative leaders. You know, we had a lot of really good meetings. Dawn, I don't know if you want to add from your perspective since it was your first one.
So I don't know what I thought going into it. I was really quite impressed. It was amazing that everyone was really kind of on the same page, regardless of your political sides, which was really quite nice to see, considering where we've been for quite some time. Everybody seems really focused on just really improving the systems we have currently in place and making things better for our community. So I don't know if I just got off really easy, Kathy.
Not at all. I was impressed when I went to Tallahassee as well.
So yeah, it was really quite amazing to sit through and have the opportunity to really have those discussions with all of the individuals and see that we're all fighting for the same things.
Okay, thank you. The legislative report, as you should have received in your email, we're going to be sending those out to you every week, the Capital Connection, because if I hold them, they become useless. So that really gives you the in-depth look. Since that went out, I just want to tell you that committee work continues to be slow, but they are saying that this year the committees will continue to meet almost till the end of session. So we're not panicked yet, as we normally would be if things had not moved all the way through committee. A few of the bills that we are interested in are moving, and that's exciting. I told you already about early learning. Also, the juvenile diversion expunction bill. Yay. I know that makes Maria very happy. Yes, there are a lot of child welfare bills, some better than others, but through the committee process, I'm hoping that they will continue to be improved as they make their way through, but there are some changes that do need to happen. And in terms of the budget, as I'm sure you've all read, you know, there's a lot up in the air right now with all the federal stimulus money coming down. How are they going to use that? What's going to happen? It's anybody's guess. I would say, you know, they had a lot of the agencies that we care about, child welfare and, well, education is a whole field unto itself. I'm not going to even try. But child welfare and early learning, the funding, mental health, they had talked about the agencies getting cuts, which one would hope wouldn't have to happen now with the additional money coming in. But as we've talked about within our own budget, one-time money, using that for salaries is not always a good decision, but who knows? Nor is it very popular to cut important programs when you are flush with money. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance all of that out. Any questions on any of those items? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, then that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Cindy. We're going to move on to the Financial Committee report, which is Paula. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Good morning. The Finance Committee met virtually on March 1st, 2021, and the auditors presented the results of the audit and the comprehensive annual financial report for the period ending September 30th, 2020, and reported an unmodified clean opinion and commended staff on a job well done, and said that there were no difficulties, no adjustments, and no disagreements. And so, first of all, I and the Finance Committee really want to thank Monty and Kathleen and all of the staff for, again, another clean audit and really exemplifying the CSC values and transparency and financial accountability. And the Finance Committee unanimously voted to recommend to the full council acceptance of the auditor's report for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2020, and approval of the draft CAFR for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2020, both as presented. So I guess, Madam Chair, we need a motion for that, correct?
I believe the auditors have some required.
Oh, I didn't realize that they were, okay. So then I guess the auditors will provide their report in person, virtually.
A virtual in-person.
Andrew or Enrique, I'm going to hand
Yes.
it over.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much. That was a great summary, by the way. That'll make my presentation a lot easier. First and foremost, good morning, and thank you for having me here today. For the record, my name is Enrique Llerena, and I am a partner with Caballero Firman, Llerena and Garcia. I served as the partner on the council's audit for this year. Also in the meeting today is Andrew Firman. He was the partner on the prior year's audit, and he served as the quality control partner for this year. So we're here today to provide a brief presentation of our reports that are included in the council's comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020, and we'll jump right in. If you turn to page Roman numeral 12, here you see the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. The council obtained this for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2019, and is going to submit this in the current year for consideration. This is a very prestigious award that comes from the Government Finance Officers Association, and we expect that this year's comprehensive annual financial report will receive the award as well. Moving on to pages 1 and 2, here you find our auditor's report. And I'm just going to walk you through this report. The first section of this report, in the first paragraph, it covers the items that we audited, which is the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities and the major fund of the council as of and for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020. The next section of the report covers management's responsibility, which is that management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. The next 3 paragraphs present our responsibilities as your auditors, which is to express opinions on these financial statements based on our audit. And that audit was conducted in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, as well as government auditing standards.
Enrique, can I just?
Yes.
Confusion on people's pieces. It was a separate, the CAFR is very large, comprehensive annual financial report. Not supposed to say CAFR.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm having difficulty hearing what you're saying.
I'm sorry. I'm just telling the people in the room who are looking for it in their packet that there was a separate mailing of the comprehensive annual financial report.
Got it.
Not in the hard copy in front of you. Sorry, Enrique. Go ahead.
No, not a problem. Not a problem. So I was still on page 1 of the auditor's report, which is page 1 of the comprehensive annual financial report. I was speaking about the last paragraph at the bottom, which is the opinion paragraph. Here you see an example of an unmodified opinion, which is the only kind of opinion that you would want to be associated with. And it states that the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities and the major fund of the council as of September 30th, 2020. So moving on through the document, on pages 3 to 24, you have management's discussion and analysis. If there's one section of this document that you read, it should be this. It gives you an overview of the financial statements, and it highlights the year and compares the current year to the prior year. Not only does it give you the comparative information, but it also tells you what balance has changed and why. And a good example of this is on pages 15 and 17, where management presents the summary information for the statement of net position, as well as summary of changes in the statement of activities, and not only discusses what changed, but why those changes occurred. Very, very useful information. Pages 26 through 34 are the basic financial statements, which include the government-wide statement of net position and the statement of activities, as well as the individual fund financial statements for the general fund. And just a brief highlight on page 30, you'll note this presents the statement of the balance sheet for the general fund. And you'll see a total fund balance of 41.5 million at the end of the year, and of which 27.9 million approximately is recorded as unassigned. Pages 35 through 72 present the notes to the financial statements. And these are required disclosures which provide detail on the council and the amounts presented on the basic financial statements. It's just additional information to help the users understand the numbers that are being presented. Pages 73 through 84, this contains required supplementary information that's required by GASB. And in this information, you'll see specific required information that has to be presented for budget to actual for your general fund, as well as some specific disclosures related to pensions and OPEB. The remainder of our reports are included in the compliance section, which actually can be found beginning on page 111. And I'll go through those reports briefly. There's actually 3 components in there that I'd like to highlight. This section includes reports that are required under generally accepted government auditing standards, the rules of the Auditor General of the state of Florida, as well as uniform guidance, since the council met the requirements for a federal single audit this year. Page 111 through 112 presents the Yellow Book report. This is the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. And this report is broken down into 2 sections. It has internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters. And in essence, we will report back to you any findings that were identified, things that are either material weaknesses or significant deficiencies related to exactly that, internal control over financial reporting or compliance and other matters. And I'm pleased to note that we do not have any findings to bring to your attention at this time. Pages 113 to 114, this is a report on compliance that's required by the uniform guidance, since the council had a federal single audit this year. And here we will report back to you and give you an opinion on compliance, as well as internal control over compliance. And I'm also pleased to note that we do not have any findings to bring to your attention at this time. And the last item that I want to highlight that's included in the comprehensive annual financial report is the management letter in accordance with the rules of the Auditor General of the state of Florida. This letter can be found on pages 119 through 120. And if you go to page 120, at the top of the page, second and third paragraph, here we have the opportunity to communicate any recommendations to improve financial management or any opportunity for improvement as it relates to compliance that did not rise to the level of a significant deficiency or material weakness, which are referred to as findings, but would still be opportunities for improvement in management's execution. And we're pleased to know that we do not have any recommendations to bring to your attention there either. The last item that I'm going to cover is the communication to those charter governance letter that's provided at conclusion of the audit, which should have also been part of your package. And on this letter, it's another opportunity that we have to report back to the council how management performed. And if there were any difficulties or any issues or disagreements throughout the course of the audit process. In fact, I'd like to take this moment to thank Monty, Kathleen, and the rest of the finance team. We wouldn't be able to do the audit as seamless as it was without their support and cooperation. As previously mentioned, the audit was very clean and it went very smoothly. And this is due to the professionalism and responsiveness of your team, the finance team, council management, and staff. So thank you very much for all of your cooperation. This concludes my presentation. We're available to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions?
My question is a broader question, so I don't know where would be an appropriate place to bring it up, but I know that in the report, there's a reference to the carryover into next year. Obviously, it's greater than it has been because of uses with COVID and so forth. So I guess at some point, and maybe I can speak offline about if there are some opportunities. The school district is doing some extensive work with students over the summer, and if there might be some collaborative efforts of something that we can do some, maybe outside the box with some funds, considering where we have as a surplus, because they would be one-time dollars spent, right? It wouldn't be an ongoing commitment. So we don't need to get into an extensive conversation now, but just because it was something addressed here, I thought it might be worth bringing up the conversation.
Thank you. Actually, that's the perfect entree to the next item. So you're spot on. After the vote, we can talk about that a little bit more.
Yes.
And
please.
I just want to make everybody aware, both in the Zoom world and in the room here, that the comprehensive annual financial report is available on our website. So if you want to follow up on any of those great things that Enrique said, you can find it on the website.
Sorry. I just wanted to point out, on page 66 of 280 in the report, the CSC expense diagram jumped out at me. As we all know, I like my diagrams, but general administration at 3.9%, that is unbelievable for an agency of this size, and the amount of money that we're putting out, the amount of people that we employ. I just have to say, I said, is that right? Is that correct? That's amazing. So congratulations and thank you. That's just outstanding. And I think everyone else should be looking at that. And that's the matrix for, if we can do it, others can do it as well. So congratulations to the team and just outstanding work.
Thank you, Kathy. And I just want to second that. Monty and your team, you're amazing. Keep up the good work. Okay, so now we need a motion to accept fiscal year 20 comprehensive annual financial report. If we could get a motion.
So move.
Maria has a motion. Who's the second?
Second.
Good. Any discussion? Angie, any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Sorry, I missed any objections. Hearing none, that's passed. Thank you. And Paula, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
And so the next topic of discussion at the Finance Committee was the increased fund balance due to COVID. Specifically, the council ended the fiscal year with a fund balance of $41.4 million, of which $17.8 million was unassigned. And so there were two areas of discussion. The first was a discussion about trauma and resiliency, and specifically initiatives that have been identified by community members and leaders, including mini grants for grassroots organizations, utilizing traditional and niche media to inform communities about mental health services and resources, and emancipatory research CPAR project, and then procurement for a cutting edge model, which was place-based trauma informed services. And then the school board folks joined the discussion, and specifically, although the school board is responsible for what occurs during the school day, their CSC has historically funded after-school activities, and there was a discussion about utilizing perhaps $2 to $3 million in unallocated for an expansion of those services. And specifically, there would be a supplemental procurement application released for existing positive youth development providers in middle and high school to expand their services to additional schools that have 80% free and reduced lunch population, and they would fill their capacity in their current schools before expanding to additional schools. And the expansion would need to be maintained through the duration of the RFP, which was August 31st, 2024. And then there was a discussion about the fact that these are non-recurring funds. And so the committee basically made a recommendation to continue this discussion with the full council.
Any discussion, Cindy?
Paula did an amazing job laying all of that out there. We are in regular conversations, and I'm using the royal we there. It's really Maria Juarez-Dofer, who practically, if we were still in offices, would have an office with a desk next to Susie Cantrick. So we're in regular conversation with them about how we can support the work. And you should have received yesterday a draft of an RFP. When we were at the Finance Committee, the discussion really was about trying to get something done for summer and utilizing the already procured PYD providers in order to do that. We hit a couple of roadblocks with that. One was, Gary said we could not limit the application only to those who had been recently procured because of the amount of money that was involved and the large expansion that we were looking at. So we really had to do a full open procurement that would allow other people to apply as well, given that there's no way to get it done that quickly. I mean, we're going to do it in record time as it is, but really it takes about 3 months at least to be able to put it out, give people a chance to respond, rate it, get it back to you for approval. So it was a little too much to get it done for summer. The other big wrinkle is access to the actual schools. We've done the remote, and it's been relatively successful. Some providers have really provided very engaging remote, and the youth are loving it, and others are struggling. And we know staring at a screen all day is not the best. So some have been able to go back to in-person, those that have their own bases, but the principals have to allow our providers to go on site at the schools to do in-person. And generally speaking, that has not been their priority. And so if they don't let us on, we can't do the service on campus. The district staff has been working very hard to encourage the principals to open it up, but it's still a negotiation. And so and with the summer camps that are happening, that the school district is doing, there's just a lot of moving pieces. So those that were currently funded, who are able to get on the school sites, will do it. We will supplement, do the all day for those that don't want to go to the camp, and we'll do the after school for those that want to stay on after school. But to expand to multiple new schools did not seem possible. So Maria's going to talk about that. I just stole her thunder a little bit. And I'll tell you, Jeff, that we are working, I know charter schools are big interest. We are focusing, on the schools that are 80% or more free and reduced lunch, and that includes the charters. We did recently send an email to the principals of those charter schools. We met with the public school principals. So there may be some ways that you can help us facilitate some of those relationships.
I'm happy to help with that, Cindy, but I'm really concerned about the 58,000 students that the district identified as those that are falling behind. It's very frustrating not to be able to even make a dent in that, given the legal hurdles that you guys are facing, and that's frustrating, I'm sure, for you too.
Yeah, so just to put it a little bit in context to not feel quite as bad, let me say for the positive youth development programs, the reach is still small compared to 58,000. Even if they let us on every campus, it's still, we would be, I think we calculated maybe 4,000 students total, because it's a comprehensive support. In our conversations with the district, if there are things that we can do that are shorter, more focused, just for the summer, to Donna's point before, one-time funding on something that we can do easily, we would bring that to you to make it happen. but to actually do what we've seen to be successful, the success coaches, the working with them regularly to make the ongoing progress, it's expensive. And I don't know, I know the desire, and I'm not an educator, so I probably shouldn't even say this, but I'm a mom of a teenager. When talking to teenagers, as some of you do, the idea of them saying, wow, I just got released from my house for the first time in a year, and I know what I want to do is go to my school all day, every day for the summer. It doesn't seem likely, no matter how engaging it is. At the same time, we know that in addition to the educational supports, we don't want all of the kids now saying, wow, I'm free. Let me just run around the neighborhood for the summer and get into God knows what kind of trouble as teenagers are wont to do. So balancing all of that is what we're trying to figure out. But
Donna had a question.
So to a couple of points. First, one of the things that we're trying to do during this special summer school is to offer some social emotional programs as well as activities within just, so in the past, summer school has just been academic because you were really going to recover. This is a very different mindset. This is trying to get our kids not recovering a couple of classes, but rather in some cases recover whole semesters, right? But to then bring in the social emotional aspect as well as other activities to Cindy's point, because we need to draw students in. And so I guess my thought was, is there an opportunity to do something? And I know there are restrictions in terms of what CSC can do directly with Broward County Public Schools, but as this summer school is outside of the scope of what our required delivery is, this is really something that we're instituting. I was wondering if there might be some flexibility in how we would approach what programs could be supported that are, again, outside of the academic aspect of what it is that we're delivering, to draw those students in and to give them the additional supports they would otherwise potentially be getting from some of the programs that CSC already supports. Is by any chance, so Broward County Public Schools offers its own after-school programs at some locations. Do you know offhand if any of the programs that we do, the PYD programs, are ones that Broward County Public Schools, or is they all outside vendors?
I'm sorry, I got distracted. The ones that Broward County Public Schools do, for the most part, I think are done yourselves, though you may contract out with some. But that's the principal's decision, so they are okay with the outside vendor being on campus. So Maria just told me we are on site at all of our assigned elementary schools. So summer programs will happen at all of the assigned elementary schools, but only 9 out of the 40 middle and high schools are letting us on campus that we are already providing services at. So we have been and continue to be open to anything that surrounds that day over the summer. The problem was the providers can't do anything if they can't get on campus.
Okay, so thank you for that. So that was one of the other notes that I had taken in terms of something. I think we probably, if we could set up a meeting, I don't know if Mr. Runcie is online today or not for the meeting. If we could please set up a meeting with yourself, Mr. Runcie, and myself, we need to overcome that issue. And I think that's something that will be helpful. If you can come to us with a list of where that access issue is, we can specifically address why at each location and figure out how to get past that barrier.
So I do know that we met with Antoine yesterday, and he was going to bring it to cabinet today. So I don't know if any progress will have
I'd
been
still
made.
like us to have that meeting.
Oh,
And then
absolutely. I
Antoine,
will.
if he wants to join that meeting, I mean, obviously that would be helpful. But I just don't want there to be any lag in time because it's going through some internal process when Mr. Runcie And I, for myself, obviously, if there's any type of board initiative, as well as obviously supporting Mr. Runcie and anything that he would like to do directly with staff, and not necessarily wait to kind of go through the cabinet process.
I would welcome that. If you can also help add to your list of things to do, if you could see my smile under the mask. The other problem is the data sharing, because one of the things that we're trying to do is actually focus on those children and recruit those children who need the service. Because I know you are at the school district trying to enroll them into your summer program, but there may be some of them who don't want the idea of summer school, even if you try to make it enriching, is not going to be appealing, but they might be willing to go to a camp which has disguised learning in it, which is what we always do over the summer, and are willing to do more of, but we can't recruit them because we don't know who they are.
So through the chair, if I could, I know it came up at a recent board meeting and workshop actually about the data sharing. Mr. Gold had mentioned that this was something that we've been continuing to look at, and I, to be honest, struggle with to some extent, as the barriers are ones which neither CSC or the Broward County School Board has put into place, but they're ones that we have to work within. So I will bring up, my takeaway was we had made some strides in that area, but let me see where we are right now, because obviously with your feedback, we're still at a place that we obviously have to make some additional significant inroads. So why don't we add that to the conversation, and I'll reach out to Mr. Runcie's office and ask for his availability.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So am I to understand that we have 40 programs, positive youth development programs, that we can't implicate, that we have funding for, that we can't implicate because the principals are saying no? Because of COVID, I assume, correct?
There are providers who are available to be at 40 school locations, and only 9 of them are able to be on campus. That doesn't mean that they're not doing anything. They may be, there may be virtual activities happening, but they are not on campus.
And
Correct.
only because of COVID, like the principals are saying my school is closed because of COVID, is that why?
Yeah, okay.
There could be maintenance going on too.
No, that's not, well, no, in this case, if the school, we're not asking them to let us in if the school is closed. This is, the school is serving however many students they're serving for COVID, and either because of COVID concerns, they don't want to have somebody from the outside coming in, or they just don't want to worry about it because they have enough on their plate trying to do what they need to do to help the students recover. So there's a lot that goes into,
I find it alarming, so I'm sure I'm not alone.
well, it's disappointing, but I know the principals have a lot on their plate, so I don't want to, I can't blame them. They're juggling a lot of interests that they have to take care of, but we're trying to help, so I would hope it would.
They're probably trying to juggle some safety issues as well, I'm sure. Donna?
So, and to that point, it is very challenging, and some campuses more so than others, in terms of access for those outside of those who have to be there. And some staff members are more comfortable and welcoming to that concept, and so therefore it's easier for administration to be able to bring in, but even volunteers' parents are very limited in terms of campus availability. So it's not just how many people are in a classroom, but how many people are on a campus in certain areas. And then, of course, there's the physical preparation of those rooms and so forth. So each administrator is having to face whatever unique challenge around their campus. With that said, the end goal for us and the priority every time has to be the students. So whatever those are, and this is why I'm asking for the meeting with Mr. Runcie, we need to look at them case by case and say, okay, if this principal is facing these challenges, how is we as a district can give the support necessary so they can open those doors?
And Donna, to continue on that, you're asking CSC for funding for programs, but aren't we going to run into the same roadblock? If we've already got 40 programs and we can only get into 9 schools?
Through the chair, and this is the first that I'm hearing of that issue. So obviously we have to resolve, this is what's in front of us right now, is getting past this issue. But at the same time, I think collectively we could do both. I don't think that we need to wait for one to happen to then move forward with seeing if there are opportunities. But it sounds as if we've already hit some challenges that may restrict us from being able to do what the initial goal was in expanding. So obviously, at this point, I would say, yes, we want to fully utilize the access that we already have within the RFP and the awards that we have. But I would like to also exhaust, to Mr. Wood's point, we have tens of thousands of students that are needing more from us. And so anything that we can do, and maybe the way we've approached it doesn't work, maybe there is something that we have some flexibility because it's summer school that we can do something more directly, and maybe we can't, but I think it's something we should at least look at because it is something, it's a unique situation, and the summer school program we're talking about is something we've never offered before. So it isn't within our required delivery of education. And so for that reason, maybe there is some flexibility. But again, I'd like us to at least have the conversation and appreciate that the CSC has already gone down this path and see if there's anything further we can do.
And Donna, let me just say that, that it's a concern, I think, for the entire board. I could speak for them. And we appreciate you taking a lead on this to help rectify any of those situations. Any other discussions?
I just add that, so there's the direct education, but to your point about the social emotional, also, Donna, that's something that we have been working on, and the resiliency work is continuing, and we're getting into some of those grassroots agencies that have better connections to help deal with some of the trauma that's been ongoing. So there are several things that are going to come up before you shortly to try and, we are not sitting on this money for the sake of sitting on the money. We're trying to get it out responsibly in the ways that can be most useful. And if I don't say this, Monty will throw something at the back of my head. Being mindful that a lot of this is one-time money, so we have to be careful that we're not building up huge staffing situations in agencies that we then can't sustain. That said, there are things that we can do within reason that will be ongoing, which is why, again, I'm stealing Maria's thunder. Yesterday, she's texting me so that I say all the right things. Based on the reaction at the Finance Committee, where 5 members were present, and you supported this idea of expanding PYD, and then given the feedback from legal counsel that we had to do it as a new procurement, yesterday you received the draft, which you have 5 days to review. So if you chose today not to put the budget in, nothing happens, it goes in a drawer. But if you do approve it today, the budget for that, in 5 days, we'll be able to release that procurement and move that along so that those programs will be able to be up and running when school starts in August. So even if we miss them over the summer, we will be there to support them when they get back to school. And, we think that will be useful.
The issue that the principals would have that's holding us back during the summer.
Well, fingers crossed that by next school year, all the schools will be open and COVID will be a bad memory, please. Okay, so I think that was everything I needed to tell you under that. Unless there are any questions.
Anything else? Paula, did you have anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Maria for the CPO report.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Cindy and Dr. Thackey, for providing all that background, which has now saved me the effort to having to do it. So thank you, that was wonderful. Before I get to the issue papers in front of you, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to introduce you all to the new director for program services, Lisa Bain. So Lisa's first day with us was Tuesday. She comes to us from Kids in Distress. She was their chief operation officer. Lisa has a master's degree in social work, and she's a licensed clinical social worker, and she'll be overseeing our clinical program. So I just wanted to welcome Lisa to the CSC family.
Good morning. I just want to say how excited I am to join this amazing CSC team, and I look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Welcome, Lisa. It's nice to see you on this side.
Thank you.
So you have 5 issue papers in front of you, 4 which are in front of you for a vote. The first one, Cindy and Dr. Thackey laid out beautifully. This is a request to expand the LEAP High and Youth Force programs. You have the procurement that we quickly pulled together to present to you so that you have 5 days to review. We're asking to begin the programs in August of 2021. So we would need $366,000 as a budget for that expansion. And then the programs would continue for the life of the procurement. And that would be a $3 million per year expansion. If approved, the procurement will be released this month. The rating committees are scheduled for May 5th. If any council members are interested in being part of those rating committees, we welcome you. Please let me know. Are there any questions about this issue paper or this action?
Any questions? Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Maria seconds. Any discussion? Any public comments, Angie?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any objections? Any abstentions? So moved. Thank you.
The second issue paper is to approve additional budget for an expansion of youth employment opportunities for this summer. So we have been working with CareerSource Broward for 16 years to offer summer employment opportunities to economically disadvantaged youth between the ages of 16 and 18. And we generally offer around 617 employment opportunity slots. Last summer, due to COVID, we were not able to offer those opportunities at all. So this summer, they opened up their registration for these opportunities. They received 1,800 registrations from youth wanting to have the opportunity to work this summer. They let us know that they were able to secure an additional 200 work sites so they can serve 200 more youth. And the action is to approve the additional funding for CareerSource Broward Summer Youth Employment Program. It would be an increase of only for this summer of $572,464 that would come out of unallocated. Are there any questions about the request? It's an 8-week opportunity for employment with 30 hours per week of service, of job service. They would be paid minimum wage, and they have 3 full days of employability skills training before their jobs would begin.
Thank you, Maria. Kathy has a question.
It's not so much a question. I just wanted to point out CareerSource is amazing to have come up with another 200 jobs, because with so many people not working in their office, it's a challenge to take students. So I applaud CareerSource. I think it's just outstanding. And I'm thrilled that those kids are going to have an opportunity. They need it. A lot of them are supporting their families this summer. So fantastic.
I agree, but I sit on the board. I can't be that objective. They are wonderful. Can we get a motion to approve additional budget for summer youth employment program?
So moved.
Second.
Donna seconds. Any discussion? Any public comments, Angie?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? And I will abstain. So moved. Thank you.
The next issue paper is to approve most summer-only general population and special needs contract renewals. So we have multiple programs that are summer-only programs. Last summer, these programs, the general population programs, due to COVID, were only able to offer virtual services. There was one provider that works with youth with special needs, JAFCO, that was able to offer in-person services. And then we have one provider, Pembroke Pines, that also is assigned to work with youth with special needs. Last summer, they decided not to open their camp. They have made the same decision for this summer as well. So the renewal request would be for our 4 general population providers to be renewed and be able to provide services this summer. And for JAFCO, who is is our only summer only provider, but we do have other providers that provide youth with special needs summer opportunities. JAFCO, we're also requesting for JAFCO to be renewed for this summer and expanded for this summer also. So all programs performed well last year. They either exceeded or met all council goals for performance measurement. And what you'll see is if the council approves these renewals, we will be negotiating with each of these providers. Some of them may be providing a hybrid program, which means some kids may be in person, some kids may be virtual. The cost per child may end up being higher due to the social distancing requirements. Due to, for example, if they take the kids on field trips, they may need to have more buses so that there can be more distancing on the buses between the kids. So all those details will be worked out, but I wanted to bring forward to you that the cost per child may be higher than in past years. So that means we may be serving less kids than past years, but all that will be negotiated if this request is approved.
Maria, can I ask you what's happening to the children that have been left behind, for lack of a better word, in Pembroke Pines 2 years in a row? Are they being picked up in these programs?
So they are certainly welcome to, what's the right word, to when the summer opportunity becomes available, they're welcome to say, yes, I want to be part of this summer only program. We do have, right now, just to give you an idea, we're working with the district on a weekly basis to identify the locations that will be providing summer services and see how they align with the 89 academic camps. Sometimes they're going to be on the campsite, sometimes they're going to be at schools that are close to the campsite. So the children from City of Pembroke Pine who last year weren't able to access those services, and this year again, won't be able to because the city is not opening the program, will be offered the opportunity to receive summer services through the schools or one of our programs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. We need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Donna. Second. Thank you, Maria. Any discussion? I just want to say, I've had the opportunity to visit JAFCO on quite a few occasions, and they do really provide great work for the children in our community. And I'm so glad to hear that they're doing some in-person services. I mean, our special needs population really is a population that we can't afford to leave behind. Usually we're still concerned, some of the kids that may be being left out. Any other discussion? Angie, any public comments?
No public comment.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? So moved. Thank you.
And then the next issue paper is to approve CSC in-kind match for the Broward Behavioral Health Coalition's Criminal Justice Reinvestment Grant. So just to give you a little bit of history, beginning in January of 2018, we began supporting Broward Behavioral Health Coalition's reentry program, which is for youth who are reentering the community from DJJ residential placements. We've been providing $200,000 per year of in-kind match for this program using Henderson Behavioral Health's multi-systemic therapy program as the in-kind match. This is a program that we fund. This Broward Reentry Program's award sunsets for Broward Behavioral Health Coalition September of 2021, as does our in-kind match. They are in the process of applying for another 3-year criminal justice reinvestment grant to expand the Broward to expand the Broward reentry program. And what they're asking of us is if we would provide $400,000 a year of in-kind match for 3 years using Henderson Behavioral Health's multi-systemic therapy program. So that would be the action that's in front of you.
I have to say that I'm so happy that the council finally entered, because that is one of the places where we have the least investment commitment program or residential program. After I've been in trouble a whole lot. Generally, they may have a little trouble at the start, but they respond really well to the start. Well, they have great gains while they're in the programs, and then they come back to the community, to the exact same environment that contributed to the behavior, in the first place, the problem behavior. And the services, they do a lot of, referrals in the community, but I'm sorry. Yeah, and my mic is on. Oh, sorry, I'm muffled. But what ends up happening is that there's really very little for these kids. The department is contracted for an average of 90 days of supervision after a kid gets out of a residential treatment program that can be extended to up to 6 months, but that's it. And mostly it's seeing a probation officer once a month and getting some referrals, no direct services. So this is probably the area where our investment, I think, is going to have the biggest bang for your buck, because these kids really have very little, if anything at all. And I am so happy that we've done this. And I would urge us to continue doing it. And I think in the future, maybe we need to look at best practices across the country and see if there's anything in addition to this that we could do. Because again, we spent all this money and all of this time and all of this effort getting the kids to where they need to be, and then they come back to the community and lose everything that they've gained. So I'm very happy and very much in support of this, and I would urge us all to support it as well. Thank you.
I agree 1,000% with Maria, and I just love that we're doing this as well.
Just a quick question, being new, I don't know, is this a new initiative that we hadn't done in the past, or did we have a difficulty in finding providers that were able to offer this?
It's not, I guess it's not new in the sense that we've done it once before, and we're looking for a renewal now. But it's new in the sense that we've been around for 20 years and we hadn't done it until this last time. And no, Henderson has been around forever, and Henderson does a lot of
Yes.
other things. They run a diversion program for us, and they do, direct services, care rather, for kids who are on probation. But funding them for aftercare is the newer thing. That was not happening.
Okay, perfect. And I know that our experience is changing the setting for the child has really the greatest deal to do with changing their circumstances. Like you said, when you put them back into the same realm that they were in before, then you should expect the same results. So anyway, to that, again, of just being new to all of the things that we're funding, this is certainly an exciting thing to be able to support. Thank you.
I agree. Maria, just a really quick question. So as part of this program, they're working closely with the child's family in order to help change the structure of the home from when the child is released. Is that what a part of that program is?
So Don, they've been, in 2018, they started this work, initially identifying the kinds of services that are needed to help a youth when they're released from a DJJ placement back into the community. So that started in 2018. Our services are being used as a match to what Broward Behavioral Health Coalition services are doing through the current grant that they have that ends in September, and will be used as a match for the next grant that they hope to be awarded that I believe begins in July. So part of the service continuum is to work with the family of the youth to help them acclimate to the new environment and set them up to be successful.
And I believe the MST model is about the family structure. It feels the multi-system work is supposed to do what you were saying, Dawn.
Okay, thank you. I mean, we just had this exact same conversation about children being released from SIP. And again, just like Donna said, when you're releasing them back into the same environment, we expect a change. It's silly. So 100% for support with these children. Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Maria, second. Any discussion?
Can I just suggest, Maria, maybe this would be a good roundtable discussion in the future, so we can learn a little bit more about it.
Great.
Follow up with them, Kathy. Thank you.
Angie, any public comments?
No public comment.
All in
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? So moved. Thank you.
And then Don, the other issue paper is just an FYI to the council.
Thank you. We're all able to read the FYI. Any questions? Thank you, Maria. I'm going to hand it over to Sue Gallagher for the CIO report.
Hi, good morning. So I have 3 items for your consideration this morning. The first item is a partnership with Broward College and their Broward Up initiative, which is applying for a Promise Neighborhood grant that builds infrastructure cradle to career. And our role in it as CSC would be to provide a one-to-one match for an additional $450,000 that we would bring into the community for youth force programs in 33311. And it also is to connect the Broward College staff and students to the Broward Reads Coalition. So that is the item for your consideration. Any questions?
We've never done this before, collaborated with Broward College, is that correct?
I'm not aware of a formal partnership like this to this degree that we've done before.
I just want to say, I think it's really exciting and really out of the box, and I commend whoever got this started, because what a great, way to have the youth or the young people at the college working with the community and talk about the understanding that that can bring, people going into their own communities to help each other. So I really think this is a strong a message that we're sending and a great commitment.
I would add, President Hale has brought a real energy to the college and has encouraged participation more so than I've seen before. Even though President Armstrong was great, there's just a different approach that he's taken. And so both Broward Up, their partnership in the racial equity work, there are several places where they're looking to intersect now that they haven't. But to Sue's point, this is the first formal partnership that we've entered into.
I think it sends a great message that we support it.
So you need a motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I forgot, I got lost into where we were with that. So can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any,
Aye.
any abstentions? Moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second item is to approve the partnership with the Children of Immigrant Family Coalition. This is a success story coming out of the Children's Strategic Plan. A few years back, a committee was born to support children who were being affected by the deportation of their parents. And Josie at Hispanic Unity convened a wide array of partners to really bring together some wraparound supports. And that committee work has now matured to the point where they have successfully secured a grant to fund the work and deepen the work, to provide information about immigrant rights, resources, and advocates to the immigrant community here in Broward. And so this is an opportunity for CSC to support this without any funding at this time. So any questions?
Just a comment, we're going to need this group more than ever right now. So thank God we started it in 2018, and I think us supporting it is appropriate.
Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Moved. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And the third item for your consideration is a one of two Kellogg grant partnerships that's going to come before you today. So I'm going to be sharing this one from the Forum for Youth Investment, and then Sandra will have one under her report. And the Kellogg grant is really seeking innovative approaches to addressing racial equity. And the Forum for Youth Investment is a group out of Washington, D.C. that we've had a long-standing partnership with. And they have really both enjoyed the groundbreaking work that we're doing here around CPAR and racial equity, and have applied to the Kellogg Foundation to expand this work across 8 other communities in the United States. And so it's a real opportunity to ensure that some of the groundbreaking work that you all have supported over the years really gets some play nationally. And so it's a really exciting opportunity. We don't have details yet, but once we do, we will bring those back to you for your consideration. So this is just approval for CSC's participation in this Kellogg grant partnership.
Thank you, Sue. Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy. Donna, second. Any discussion?
Through the chair, if just in terms of the distribution that's being considered, come August, hopefully we will find ourselves, we're expecting more kids to be coming back to our schools. I mean, we're expecting it to be a more traditional school year next year. And I see that we're intending to do distribution that's similar to how we did last year, which what I would think would be, and maybe I'm just reading this wrong.
I'm not sure what you're looking at.
So I'm looking at, this is item 31, correct?
Oh,
No, 30.
Sorry, I'm one ahead. I'll make my comments on 31. Thanks.
Thanks, Don. Did you second on the? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Discussion, Kathy?
Nope.
Oh, no. Okay.
No
Done.
public comment.
Second.
Right. Angie, any public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? So move.
thank you.
Thank you, Sue. We're going to move on to the CCO, Sandra.
Good morning. I have 4 issue papers. The first is about the 2021 Back to School Extravaganza. As you know, this will be the 11th year that the council provides a challenge grant, and we work with community partners and we distribute backpacks, filled backpacks, shoes, and uniforms to students who are living in precarious housing situations, as well as students in need. Those students are identified by the school board social workers who we've worked with over the 11 years, and we do distributions around the county. As we did last year, we have learned some lessons, and I thought, wow, you know, they're not going to agree to do the distributions like they did last year, but it turned out that by decentralizing the distributions, actually giving the backpacks to our funded programs, our community partners, and our partners with Back to School Extravaganza, that our footprint was larger for the distributions, and we reached down deeper to those in need. The plan is for this year that we would do distributions like we did last year, and this issue paper is asking for approval for the vendors where we buy the filled backpacks, where we the uniforms, the shoes from Soles and Shoes, and from Jacob's Shoes. So I'm asking for you all to approve Unison School Apparel, Moda West, Soles for Shoes, and in Jacob's Shoes as vendors for the 2021 Back to School Extravaganza.
Any questions? Go ahead.
If I could through the chair. So now my appropriate question. Sorry, when I was flipping the pages, this went to the back of it. So here, I certainly want the resources to get to the end users, right? It's just, as I was at least reading it, it seemed as if we were doing what we had done during our COVID year. And I just wanted to make sure that we weren't utilizing resources in a way that wasn't necessary, I guess is what I'm saying, in terms of, so if there were more end users, if our, you know, it got out to a further footprint and this was more successful, and we would do this going forward regardless of COVID, then I absolutely support it. If we were doing it because we still felt like there were restrictions because of COVID, I was just suggesting we are looking to be back in school. I would support this the way that we see ourselves going forward in you know, a more typical year. But at the same time, I'm only making the comment because I don't want us to use resources in a way that's unnecessary. But if we feel this is successful, then obviously I'd rather us just leave as is.
Understand. Kathy?
I feel, and I know we discussed this last year, you know, it was I think a difficult decision on part of the team, you know, to do it this way. But again, I really feel like we've gone more into the community where the people are, and we're empowering our partners. Can you imagine how good they feel when they get all the backpacks and their kids that they're serving on a daily basis? They really know their community and they're being able to share gifts in the community. So I really feel like we're making a bigger difference in a really holistic way, and we're able to wrap our arms around the program, and it's not us, like they're not coming to us, which is in so many of the conversations, we need to go to the people, if you will, and this is really what we're doing. So I personally see this going forward to be the model, as long as it's being delivered and we're monitoring and making sure, you know, no one's getting left out or, you know, whatever the issues might be. But I know Sandra and the team won't allow for that. So Sandra, do you want to speak to any of that?
So yes, thank you so much, Kathy. So we do still have large distributions. Crockett Foundation in Pompano does, last year they did a drive-by. And in this drive-by, they provided food. We're not able to do huge distributions where 6,000-7,000 people turn up at one school. We can't do it this year. And in fact, Crockett said that last year they used it as a team building exercise for their agency. So all of the partners, the Crockett Foundation, who would normally do the giant distributions where people come to them, they actually liked this model and they approved this model, and we listen to our partners.
Dawn, if I could add, I think, as Sandra said, you're both right. And we had a lot of discussion about this. So to your point, Kathy, the partners really liked being able to get into the community that way. There are some things that are lost. When we do the big gatherings, children can also, in some of the settings, get haircuts. They get access to kid care. In some sites, they were able to get their physicals or vaccines. One site was able to do eye exams, and I remember running into a family after one of the distributions. We happened to go to lunch afterwards, and a family came over to me. The mom was like, "Oh my God, it was so great. My daughter finally got glasses. She's 8 and she hasn't been able to see." So those things stick with me, and Sandra and I had quite a discussion about that this year. But it's not, even as we try to go back to normal, the planning involved and the schools making themselves available to us for that kind of giant distribution is not feasible now, even if it may be by August. And for the part, and to Sandra's point, cramming 6,000 in one space is also not responsible at this time. So I think after we do it again this year and see which parts were really good, what's missing, next year when things are normal, we can see which pieces, because we don't want to lose that grassroots distribution, but also how we can still fulfill some of those other needs as well. And the team that does this every year is extraordinary. And I know they'll look at it from every angle before we make the recommendation for next year. And to the point of the expansion, you know, before we had done we had gotten up to 8,000. Last year we went to 13,000. This year you'll see we're asking for 10, which is still higher than before, but there are some supplies left over from last year. And so we are expecting to serve more than 10,000, even though what we're asking you for approval today is 10,000.
Thank you, Cindy.
Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Maria. Any other discussion? Any public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? So moved, thank you.
Okay, my next issue paper is asking you to approve funding to PBS for water safety PSAs. We're asking for $25,000. As Cindy said earlier, drowning remains the #1 cause of death and injury in children under 5 years old in Broward County. Andrew is very active on the Drowning Prevention Task Force, told us the story of a father on his tablet working at home. The child on the tablet, supposedly at school, got bored and slipped out of the house and was found floating in the pool. We are seeing more incidents like this happening, and staff is proposing partnering with South Florida PBS and Kids Vision's Miss Penny to produce and air over a period of 8 weeks, several 60 and 30-second PSAs to be aired on all South Florida PBS channels, which include WPBT, WXEL, PBS Kids, and the Health Channel, as well as social media. They have been extremely good partners with us over the years, and this will certainly be a success. So the ask is to approve funding of PBS for water safety PSAs.
I'd like to make a motion to approve funding of the PBS for water safety PSAs.
Thank you. Discussions? So I just want to say, from someone that sits on all the death reviews for children that have passed away in Broward County, it's definitely one of our top 2 reasons why children 0 to 5 pass away. Clearly in huge support of this. I think we need as much as we can, especially now when we're also living in a time where there's a lot of rental homes out in our communities, and that is growing, and we really need to try to get ahead of this as much as we can. So thank you. Any other discussions? Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Hearing none, move. Thank you.
Okay, behind tab R, the action is to approve mental and behavioral well-being educational campaign, to approve a mental and behavioral well-being educational campaign. The cost is $40,000. You've heard us talk, and you know that we have been very much involved in resiliency conversations in communities and parts of Broward County that are historically underserved, and where cross-generational grief and trauma due to gun violence remains a persistent issue. In all of the community conversations, time and time again, we keep hearing, we don't know where the resources are. We don't know where the resources are. So this campaign really is directed to a diverse, hard to reach population. And we're planning on doing this in a culturally appropriate way, with information provided by members of their respective communities. The list of the vendors continues on the issue paper. You'll see we have Spanish radio, Afro-Caribbean, we have Creole radio, Caribbean, we have TV, Neighbors for Neighbors. WebM Network is helping us redesign a page focused on this specific area on our website. Paramount TV, Rhythms Marketing, and many grassroots social media influencers, some of them youth. So the ask is to approve the mental and behavioral well-being educational campaign.
Can I get a motion? Maria had the motion. Oh, sorry, I think. Any discussion?
Please.
Yes.
Sandra, have we had the discussion including 211 in this conversation and in this campaign.
Yes.
Because I was alarmed when I read that, they don't know where to go, because when your mental health is suffering, you can't even, imagine, to pick up the phone. But if we could keep it simple, and number one, they're dialing 211, that's across the board, and then 211 gets to see, okay, what zip code are you in, and really hold their hand through the process. But if we have to give a different message than just 211, it would be better. So have we had that conversation?
We've had that conversation, and 211 will be one of the resources that we highlight. The important thing in this campaign, I believe, is to share the information in a culturally appropriate way that will resound and connect with the people who are listening, and to be able to say, please call 211. So yes, we have had the discussion, and that is part of our plan.
Sandra, United Way right now has a campaign, and there's a big billboard on 95 and 595. It's okay not to be okay. I drive by it every day, but I can't read where I get the help from. So to my point of, 211 is the easiest.
Yes,
We're
it is.
having trouble getting access and understanding. I still think that should be a priority.
It is, and I thank you, Kathy, for bringing that up. Yes, it is, it will be, and we are in discussions with them.
Thank
Any other discussion?
And Kathy, I would just say that's always the case wherever we are. So don't worry.
Probably on the United Way sign, there's a 211 somewhere, but I can't see it. So that's kind of my point.
Any public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Objections? Any abstentions? Hearing none, thank you.
Behind tab S is to approve a letter of support for Florida Atlantic University for the Florida Atlantic University Kellogg Grant application. Just some background, we have been a member of a research practice partnership focused on research evaluation, providing community level training, and shaping culturally responsive intervention efforts to address race-based inequity since 2018. The work of this committee centers on interagency collaborations as a means of supporting Black, Indigenous, and people of color in creating culture-centered solutions to long-standing problems. This proposal will support CSC's ongoing racial equity and social justice efforts by providing access to culture-centered education, training, and technical support using an emancipatory research framework. There's no budget attached. The ask is to approve the letter of support for Florida Atlantic University in their Kellogg Grant application.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the letter of support for the Florida Atlantic University Kellogg Grant application.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? You guys here at CSC do such a wonderful job on our racial equity lens and really trying to move our community forward. And I think you guys have as good a chance as anybody to be able to get these grants. This is a conversation Cindy and I had yesterday. I've sat on statewide meetings, and I believe that Broward County has done so much more throughout the state. And I know it's international, but being very optimistic. So any other discussion? Public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any objections? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. Thank you, Sandra. I'm going to turn it over to Monty, our COO.
Good morning. So we'll make this brief. I know we're getting late in the morning. So for the first time, can you hear me?
Now you can.
Oh, I gotta do this real
Yeah.
close. Okay, sorry. I feel like I'm a singer. For the first time in 20 years, I'm actually looking at changing our financial management system. So we have an RFP out now, and these are the raters. I've asked the financial directors for some of my compadres, one in St. Lucie, who just recently went through this process, and my other compadre down in the trust. Our Palm Beach CSC finance director wasn't able to meet the dates, but that and staff, and of course, if any experts on the board or the council would like to join us, I'd love to have your input. I'm excited and nervous at the same time. So this is to approve those, the panel.
Motion to approve?
So are there, before we go on to discussion, any of our members would like to be a rater on this committee?
I won't take it personal.
Well, if you think about it and it's something you want to do, please email Monty. That would be very helpful. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Thank you.
I just want to add, one of the things that Kathy and I had discussed previously was the way we represent what we fund. As you all know, but which is quite evident from what we do today, what we've done today, CSC's funding is in every corner of everything that touches children's lives. And when we do the roll-up on the financial system, or on the financials as Monty's about to present them, they get put into buckets that don't necessarily capture every aspect of everything we do, because otherwise it would be pages and pages. So with the new financial system and with the upgrade to SAMIS, our management system of the providers, we soon will be able to slice and dice things in many different ways in response to questions that you may have, or to be able to show it to you on an issue paper in a different way than you would necessarily normally see it in the financials. But we have to create categories somehow in order to show it. But it means that some things get hidden. Like Kathy had asked me, aren't we spending money on behavioral health? Yes, we're spending a lot of money on behavioral health, but it's tucked into other goals and objectives. So hopefully with these two innovations, by next fiscal year, we'll show you all kinds of things.
Yes. Well,
It's very exciting. Thank you, Monty. I know it's a brave new frontier to make a big change like this, but I really think you're gonna enjoy it once we get there.
yes, I
Get over
agree.
the hurdles.
Yes, yes, for sure. The next two items are our typical items. It's our purchases. Nothing major there. The only thing that's over the 10,000 is software. Oh, the financial statements. It's the normal financial statements for February. And then the purchases. I don't know if you want to take them together, or if there's any questions about any of them.
I'll have U and V.
We have
Yeah, sorry, Cindy. So we do have someone that's going to have to abstain. So we can let's just take U, and then we're going to split out the V, if you don't mind. So if we could get a motion on the budget amendments.
Motion to approve budget amendments and interim financial statements.
Second? David?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor? Aye.
Or Atlas's EMP, so what?
Any objections? Any abstentions? Thank you. So on B, we're going to, we could do a motion to approve all the purchases, and we're going to take out the NSU Story Fest item, and we'll do that one separate. So if we could have a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Thank you. Now we're going to do I need a motion to approve the NSU Story Fest item.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections?
I'm abstaining.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, thank you, Monty. I'm going to turn it over to both David and Jeffrey for our agency capacity building committee report.
So I think Jeff's up first, and then I'll follow up behind him.
Thank you, Dr. Ken. Continue to be impressed, and I'll let Dr. Ken speak for himself, with this committee and the work that they do. We had our last virtual board meeting on February 24th. I want to give a special thank you to Adama for my notes today. The featured speaker was Land Infotech, and we got a great presentation from CEO Michael Goldstein. One of the benefits about serving on this committee is that I get to learn as much as the people that are actually participating. He gave a great discussion on the cybersecurity solutions and threats that are out there. He actually even talked about these phishing emails that come in that are targeting certain elements of our population that need to be addressed. The main goal there was to make sure that you have access to IT people and to make sure that you, if you have a suspicious email or suspicious ongoing issues with your IT systems, to treat everything with suspect, except if it comes from the Children's Service Council, obviously. Then we had a panel discussion, and this is really a great educational tool, because I know that a lot of questions that I get in my practice is, do you know a grant writer? One of the things that we had in the discussion, we had great participation from Christine Frederick from Flight Center, Susan Evans from Habitat for Humanity, Rachel Ramjadan from Nonprofit Plus, and Linda Salzman from Excellence in Performance. They talked about when and how to select a grant writer. You may not need one for your particular grant. They talked about also low cost and no cost grant sourcing tools. They talked about the fundamentals of grant writing processes and how to access quality grant writing training. And also they talked about grant stewardship. So those are the things that the committee discussed on the 24th. Looking forward to the next chat and chew, and I'm going to kick it over to my colleague, Dr. Kenton.
All right, thanks. So we have some upcoming training opportunities. Super excited for them. We have a 5-part grant writing series coming up, 6-part fundraising school initiative, some intentional communication that'll be coming up, sand trade therapy using telehealth, and then beyond trauma-informed care as well. And as Attorney Wood mentioned, right, we have the next chat and chew. And so I just want to stop and take a second that, Jeff and I just kind of brainstormed before this year started out, and that team just kind of ran with this initiative of the chat and chew. And so what's really dynamic about it is that it's a 4-part series, taken collectively or individually if people are able to stop in. So the next one is focused on focus. And so this partnership with InterraWorks, it is actually phenomenal and very dynamic. So there were a number of participants engaged, and I know that many of us are zoomed out. But InterraWorks did a great job of engaging all of the cross sections of partners. There were a lot of authentic questions about what they needed to do in their respective organizations, and tangible skills that they felt that they can take back to work on towards capacity building. So I think that this next one, folks are going to be excited. I would anticipate that there will probably be an increase in participation for that. And we have homework in between. And so that's pretty awesome. And then our next ACB meeting will take place on May 26th. So if you haven't, please try to drop in on it. It's literally an hour. Folks stayed the entire time. And it's really exciting and reinvigorating.
If you could send us the link to invite us, I would like to join you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Maria for the Special Needs Advisory Board report.
So this was the first meeting that I attended of the SNAC committee, and everyone was very welcoming. And I had the pleasure of having an update or kind of a briefing before the committee by Marissa Aquino, and it was extremely helpful. I'm so thankful to her for all, her information and all her help. So the committee met on March 4th, and we heard from 211 Broward. They provided an overview of the special needs website preliminary redesign. Members of the SNAC commended them on the new look. It's really, very clear and very easy to access and understand. The website has also become very easy to navigate, for people to locate the information. Obviously, we know that there are many challenges when we make things too complicated. So that's a goal. The Education and Awareness SNAC Committee assisted by providing a timeline to incorporate into the design. And in terms of next steps for that, Marissa Aquino will be establishing a work group to review the content of the frequently asked questions. We want to make sure that we're addressing the most relevant topics and that we're providing information in a clear and concise way. So I think that's really important and helpful, and she'll be moving forward with that soon. The Broward Community Action Agency presented regarding self-sufficiency case management program that provides emergency assistance, rent, mortgage assistance, information referrals to other agencies. Okay. And then we also had some discussions around an employment task force that will be meeting next month, which will include the STEP providers and Broward County Schools transition team. And the first step will be of the employment task force will be to identify businesses that are open for student internships. Now, this is different from what we heard before. This is internships for, our kids with special needs. And these businesses will be asked to take, maybe 5 to 6 kids at a time and provide them the opportunity to come to the workforce and to see what's going on. I actually approached my office because we employ a number of people with special needs in different, sections of our office. And I approached the public defender's office thinking, they might be interested in coming to the courthouse and, helping in our mailroom and stuff. And right now, everything's on hold, however, because the courthouse is not fully open yet. So we don't know how good an idea it is to bring in a bunch of kids when we're not even fully operational. But we're keeping it on the back burner, and if possible, we definitely will incorporate a few kids. But we're looking for other businesses that are open and participating. If anyone has, the capacity to have these kids come in the summer for a few hours a day, or maybe even a couple of times a week. We're just asking, for 4 or 5 kids, at a time. So please let us know, because we'd really be interested in having, as many opportunities open to these kids as possible. And that's pretty much it. We'll be meeting again now in April.
Thank you, Maria. Do they have any flyers in reference to the internship for our special needs that I could send out, or any of us can send out?
I don't have a flyer, but I did ask for information, and it was emailed to me, which if you printed it, it would be a flyer. So I'll be happy to forward that to everyone for your consideration. I'll do that after the meeting.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. Maria, I'm going to hand it over to you for the Funders Forum report.
So in front of you are the Funders Forum minutes. They are in draft only because the members of Funders Forum have not had an opportunity to review them. And Donna, just to highlight for you, the district has been coming to Funders Forum and providing ongoing updates on the work being done to develop the academic camps so that the full group of Funders Forums knows the challenges that are happening and the plans that the district is working on. And happy for you, 211 came back and updated us to let us know that they initially needed $563,000 to keep services where they're at. And as of March 5th, they had been able to raise $288,000 from Funders Forum members. They were waiting to hear if they would get an extension from FEMA to be able to utilize approximately $49,000 that they have available in that line. And they were going to reach out to me and to the Community Foundation to let us know the status of the rest of the money that they needed to raise. So it looks like that process is going well for them. And so as far as other highlights, there was 2 announcements, one from Broward County sharing that they were going to have a procurement that's currently available. And then Community Foundation shared about a procurement that will be announced on April 9th. It looks like a really interesting opportunity. They're looking for proposals for the best, what do they call it, $1 million Be Bold Prize RFP that's geared to help get Broward County residents back to work within the next 2 years. So overall, that's just the highlights of Funders Forum meeting, and we have our next meeting on April 9th. And I wanted to, the question about the City of Pembroke Pines, just wanted to also share that the YMCA, who was the service provider for those youth, I forgot to mention this earlier, they also have contact with the youth that were not able to be served due to the city not opening and have reached out to those youth to offer them services. So I wanted you to know, in addition to the schools and the academic camps, the YMCA is actually also actively working to enroll those kids.
Maria, I just wanted to add also the Community Foundation Be Bold Prize. It's $1 million. So that's not very often you hear about $1 million coming into Broward County. So it's a great opportunity. It's open to businesses, it's open to nonprofits with the focus on getting folks back to work. So please share that. It's on the Community Foundation website. You know, businesses can take a look at it and see if they have the ability to adapt into it. But they're looking for innovation, and it's a brand new opportunity. I've never seen $1 million prize here in Broward before, so take note. It's an exciting time.
Any other questions for Maria? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Madam Chair, just before you go on to public comment.
Yeah.
To Maria, when Maria offered to send the information out about the internships, just to be safe for Sunshine, we'll send it out to everybody. So we'll get you the information on the Chat and Chew and on the STEP internship opportunity recruitment.
Perfect, thank you. Any public comments?
No public comments.
Thank you, Angie. So I'm going to turn over, we now have the council members roundtable. I'm going to turn this over to Monica King. She's the CEO of Broward Healthy Start Coalition. Monica?
Hi, great. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. I wanted to take an opportunity. We work very closely with your staff. I know many of you may know the Healthy Start program, but we're going to truly take an opportunity to share more about what we do and who we are. We've been in the community for about 30 years, and we are a big part of prevention partner. And so Andrew's going to help me walk through the slides and talk real quickly. I know it's the end of your meeting. Wanted to give you a little background. So there's a lot of healthy programs, healthy projects, But Healthy Start is a state-funded program that the legislature signed into law in 1991. It had 3 primary goals. It was really around helping and reducing infant mortality, reducing low birth weight, and healthy child development. And it created what are Healthy Start coalitions. There is one in every part of the state. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Broward Healthy Start Coalition. It was really an opportunity to identify women that needed support services in our community. And why I really wanted to come to you all today, and I really appreciate the invitation, was that Healthy Start has undergone some significant program changes in the last 2 years. Although we've been around since 1991, in 2001, Medicaid expanded the scope of the program by making sure there was additional funding to serve the Medicaid population. But in 2019, the Department of Health, as well as the Agency for Healthcare Administration, changed a little bit of our model and had us create what is a coordinated intake and referral system for any pregnant women and a new mom in our community to really work and serve her. We're happy to say that this year is our 30th anniversary. And so moving on, this is the statute reference. I just wanted to note that since that time, there's been a 35% decrease in infant deaths in the state of Florida. This was really a proactive effort by the legislature to support women. And so it required that a Healthy Start screening or a risk screen be done by every obstetrician, every clinic, anywhere where there's a woman that presents that's pregnant or a new mom. So on the hospital side, that's embedded into our hospital systems, but on the community side, we work really closely. Next slide, Andrew. And so I'm going to talk really about 3 legs of the stool. The first being our Connect, which is our coordinated intake and referral program. And the idea is really that we serve as a central hub for any referral, as well as screens. I really want to thank Dr. Thatchy and her team at the Department of Health locally. Every screen that's done at women in a healthcare setting gets processed through the health department. And then those screens, depending on if the woman consents to be contacted, then they come into our Connect team. And that can either be through a phone call, or we have staff embedded throughout the system. We receive voluntary referrals as well as the screens that I mentioned. Through that process, we are doing an intake with women and trying to identify not only their strengths, but risk, providing them information, making sure that we understand how much of a need they are, and potentially connecting them to a home visiting program. What I wanted to note is that for particularly, hold up one second, Andrew, particularly for our high-risk cases, we are contacting the referral source. So we work closely with our child welfare system, our health plans. We get referrals from school system, our public health clinics like 7th Ave, Corey, Blaine, and the Pembroke Pines Clinic. So any high-risk referrals, we are putting all in, it's a state data system where we track every referral that comes to us. And then on particularly our high-risk referral sources like doctor offices, residential treatment providers, or child protection, we are doing a status check back to those folks to let them know what's happened, what program did they get served into, and whether they declined or engaged in services. And so that is a statewide data system that every county has, and so Broward participates in that. Next slide, please. So what I would say is our aim is really on those high-risk cases to connect them, and to do that so that we're not duplicating services. We're talking to the woman, identifying what she really needs. What could potentially be the best program for her? Is she a first-time mom? Is there a particular program in her neighborhood? And so we have formal partnerships with the home visitation partners that are listed on the left side of the screen, where they are part of a data sharing agreement that we provide automated referrals through our system. They provide us information on their enrollment status. We work with Healthy Families. I know the Children's Services Council is a significant funder of that program. Obviously, and then they can also be part of our own Healthy Start Home Visitation program, and then several other programs that the council does fund, like the Teen Reach program, the Nurturing Parenting program, but we also work with a few other home visitation programs. Just want to give you a snapshot. There are 22,000 births in Broward County every year. We receive 20,000 referrals. Those are either through our screening process that the healthcare community sends to us or through community referrals. And so of those 20,000 referrals that we receive, we do an intake, and that means a successful conversation with at least a 30-minute assessment with a woman, and we did nearly 18,000 of those last year. Through that process, we identify whether they may be benefit, and they have a choice. It's really their choice of what home visiting program they would like to engage in. We referred 8,000 of those women to a home visiting program. Next slide, Andrew. So the next I was saying there's 3 legs to Healthy Start. So that's our intake. I want to talk a little bit about our own home visitation program. So next slide, Andrew. Was worked on a risk model looking at the score that comes off the screen or maybe the referral. Well, and that's based on a score. It's a Department of Health instrument that's done at the healthcare setting, but we could also, if professional judgment of any referral source believes that that woman might benefit from supportive services, then we'll take that referral and we'll reach out to that woman and we'll figure out how to identify. This is just a quick snapshot of our home visiting program that we run. We do, as you can see on the slide, a lot of educational components. It's based on evidence-based practices. We use the FSU curriculum for parenting. I want to note that we also do a lot of screenings related to domestic violence, perinatal depression, substance use, and child development and interventions. And depending on where the need is in how we'll formulate an individualized plan for each mom. And so we do nearly more than 1,000 they were home visits. We're doing a lot of virtual visits right now, but every month over 1,000 of those visits with women every month. Next slide. And sort of the third leg of what I wanted to provide you some information about Healthy Start and in this community is really our activities related to planning, advocacy, the maternal child health system. We just recently completed, and we'll stop a minute here, Andrew, a comprehensive needs assessment of the maternal child health system. It's something that we do every 5 years. We just published it. We've been providing it. I know it's been provided to staff. And it's a comprehensive review of sort of where this community is. And I wanted to stop here. This is not all of the indicators, but just some of the highlights of what really shows the quality of what's happening with women in our community around fetal and infant deaths, around C-sections, around preterm births, maternal mortality, and how access to care. And what you'll note, and I hope you can see real quickly, is that there's a huge racial disparity. And so if you're looking at all the numbers, they're poor, but the disparity between our Broward white population and Broward African American Black population is quite disparate. If we move on to the next slide, Andrew, this is just beyond the indicators. It's looking at the needs in the community. There's been a lot of attention by through our focus groups and key stakeholder interviews around issues related to behavioral health. I mean, I think we can all sort of empathize as our kids are suffering through COVID, our moms are suffering through COVID. They are dealing with more frequent drug use. We've seen a spike in overdose deaths. We've seen a spike in maternal mortality. And so There's a lot of attention to, right now, the leading cause of one of the issues related to maternal deaths is related to drug use. And so we're working a lot around how do we better identify and engage with women who may be pregnant and using drugs. In infant mortality, as you saw that rate that was in the red, some of the work that we do is around unsafe sleep practices or safe sleep. We're very grateful to the Children's Services Council for funding a safe sleep initiative and that we have been operating with. And then last, I wanted to talk about really like health insurance issues in this community, coverage. We are a big advocate. There's a current legislative bill that would expand temporary pregnancy Medicaid coverage. So we also do a lot of legislative work. There is a couple of bills right now that would look to expand the coverage of Medicaid for pregnant women. And so we work a lot on those issues as well as access to care. Some of our needs assessments show that there are the communities that are the most at risk and have the highest preterm births and infant mortality are the ones that lack the least number of OBGYN offices and clinics. And so that's an attention issue. Go to the next slide, please, Andrew. Just a quick snapshot. There is a lot of committee work we help support, but also are partnering with the Department of Health is a big partner in a lot of issues with their work on breastfeeding and perinatal HIV. So this is just a snapshot. We're always looking for participants and members to engage with this through our fetal and infant mortality review. Don Liberta sits on that committee. We're very appreciative. We've got health department staff as well as behavioral health staff on those committees. A big amount of work that we do is around the Black infant health practice and really the issue of racial disparity that's affecting our birth outcomes in this community. Not lastly, but just some strategies I wanted to list on the next page that we're working on in this coming year, and we'll be putting forward our new 5-year plan around continued work around infant deaths, concentrated on safe sleep. I know there's a lot of investment on drowning prevention, and that is a very, very important pocket. And we continue to sort of educate and support. Wanted to note that just like drowning, with COVID, we have seen an uptick in the number of safe sleep deaths. This is just a quick snapshot of the amount of community trainings, professionals we've been trying to educate, training to nursing staff, medical staff around the importance of modeling safe sleep practices. And we are appreciative of your funding support to do that. And then I know Cindy had asked me a little bit of going forward, you know, the numbers on safe sleep, I wanted to talk about real quick, is really, it's beyond access to cribs is really the issue. While it's very important to provide those resources to our families who are quite at risk, it's really around messaging. And so we've been doing some focus groups, some dedicated work with ads and information on our Haitian radio and some of our more focused markets around messaging, because it's that individual conversation that we need to be having with our families around their practices, who they're choosing to be a safe caregiver for their child. And so I just wanted to end a little bit because we're around our Safe Sleep initiative that you all fund. And last, I think it's just my final slide around if you have any questions. We work very closely with your staff and just wanted to take an opportunity to talk about being a strong prevention partner with the Children's Services Council, and that we have an opportunity here that we always leverage to talk to nearly 18,000 women a year. And so anytime that you're trying to reach that younger population, think of Healthy Start. Or if you have an opportunity where you'd like for us to do a presentation about who we are We've got a website where you can submit a referral. We've got a main number. We've got a universal referral form, and we are open and available to really talk to anybody who has somebody in their life that needs services, if they're pregnant or a new mom. So I know I rushed, but hopefully that provided a good overview.
Thank you, Monica. Does anybody have any questions?
Monica, thank you for that presentation. That's outstanding. I know we're all shocked by the numbers you were presenting and the disparity, and absolutely stunning numbers that you're showing us there. I think there's obviously more conversation needs to be had around why that is, and how we, the CSC, can help make a difference there. I really like the synergy between what you're doing and what we're all doing, and you could be a great partner for us, I think, in the future in our racial equity work. So I'm glad we had the opportunity to have this presentation, and we'll definitely give it a lot of thought.
Thank you, Ms. Dahlia. And it just as the work that you all are doing on racial equity has been leading the foreground. We are involved in that work and a strong participant in that work, and so we appreciate the opportunity to continue to do that and to educate not just the child serving community, but really the healthcare community. And so that's where we're looking for that increased focused of energy on implicit bias and racial equity work as we're working with our hospitals and our healthcare providers.
Thank you, Monica. And I will say, through most of the unsafe sleep deaths are investigated, and Monica's right. There's a lot to be said about the messaging. Most, not all, of the homes, when it's being investigated, do have some sort of sleeping device for the infant, whether it's a bassinet, a pack and play, and or a crib. So messaging really truly is important in this case. Any other questions? Having none, thank you, Monica.
Thank you very much.
I'll take a motion to dismiss and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
We'll see you April 15th. I do assume that we'll be in the same condition in April. So 6 of you, council members, please be prepared to come here. Thank you.